shadow under me.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my video for the Fallout Season 1 ending. They ended on a cliffhanger, which seems a pretty clear indication they've already been renewed for Season 2, and probably more seasons than that, because there's so much story there. They teased some pretty clear story based on some of the other Fallout games for Season 2, even though they were not doing any direct copy-paste plot from the game story in Season 1. There were a lot of big changes, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the episodes. I'll try to do videos for all the Season 2 episodes. Hopefully they'll release 1 or 2 of them per week next time, just so it's a little bit easier to actually do that. Overall, the response to Season 1 has been pretty good. Everyone seems like they're digging the show. They did a solid job of a video game adaptation. I still think that Netflix Arcane is peak video game adaptation for TV series, but Fallout is probably the best live-action TV series based on a video game so far. Which is funny because the main character of the series, Lucy, is played by Ella Purnell, who also does the voice of Jinx on Arcane.
A terrible person, she's done all these terrible things. But is she a terrible person? No, it was a mistake.
But that BioShock TV series they announced, Henry Cavill's Warhammer series, which Amazon is also doing themselves, just got put on notice. They'd better bring it if they're going to beat Fallout for video game adaptations. Careful for spoilers from the Fallout series if you haven't seen the episodes yet, because we'll be talking about everything that happened and all the major details they changed from the video games. But during the ending, Lucy, the main character from Vault 33, learns the complete truth about what really happened to the world who dropped the first nuclear bombs, what really happened to her mother, the dark truth of her life inside the vaults up to that point, the dark truth of the world just in general. It's a very cynical series. The rest of the main characters who didn't know everything also wind up learning the truth behind their dark origins too. Like, it's a very tragic series. Everybody has very tragic backstories. Up to this point, only some of the characters had known the entire truth the whole time. Like the Ghoul, for instance, who's revealed to have been Cooper, the original Vault Boy that the thumbs up pictures are all based on from the games. And the darkly ironic origin of where the thumbs up itself came from, because as he says, during the war, they used to hold the thumbs up to see whether or not a bomb was dangerous enough, and if the mushroom cloud was smaller than your thumb, then you should run for the hills, you could survive, but if the mushroom cloud was bigger than your thumb, then there'd be no point in running at all, because the bomb was so big, everybody would be killed everywhere. So the thumbs up itself is also meant to play into the way the Vault-Tec lied to the public about everything and the sinister nature of the world and capitalism just in general. Like, the real villain of the series is kind of capitalism just in general, but there is an actual physical main villain that they do reveal.
Finally, those capitalist pigs will pay for their crimes, eh? Hey, comrades!
We won.
Oh, groovy, smashing, yay capitalism!
And the villain is a big change from the games, which up to this point spent most of the different games just hinting and guessing at who might have been behind the initial bombs in the first place. Lucy spent the whole series trying to save her father from a person she thought was the main villain, Moldaver. She winds up running into all the other main characters along the way, like Maximus from the Brotherhood of Steel, the Ghoul, the various other factions from the games along the way. And over the course of her journey, she starts slowly learning the truth of the world. Up to this point, her father had been lying to her about what was really going on and what their mission in Vault 33, all the other vaults just in general, were meant to be about. Here's where we get to some of the major changes that the TV show makes to the Fallout video game series. So Season 1 isn't meant to be a direct adaptation of any of the game stories. They said that they wanted to tell a story inside the Fallout universe, but an original story. There are a lot of Easter eggs from the games, though. In the original video games, they eventually hinted that the Chinese dropped the first bombs on the United States in the year 2077 during what they refer to in-universe as the Great War, where everyone started dropping bombs on each other in retaliation for those first bombs that were dropped. On the show, the way they changed this is by making Vault-Tec, the company, the actual main villains. I said capitalism was the main villain of the series, but the physical main villains are the Vault-Tec people themselves. The company conspired with the other companies also based on the games. Their board meeting here is meant to be a parody of Dr. Strangelove with them getting ready to drop the bomb. And when they were explaining why Vault-Tec dropped the initial bombs, they used this term called fiduciary responsibility to sort of explain Vault-Tec themselves, like why they're so evil. The ghoul is revealed to be Cooper Howard, an actor from before the Great War 200 years ago, whose wife worked for Vault-Tec as an upper-level executive.
A nuclear event would be a tragedy, perhaps the greatest opportunity in history, because when we are the only ones left, there will be no one to fight.
So his wife was a key conspirator in developing the overarching plan to drop the bombs and force everyone into the vaults that they've been building all over the United States. There are about 122 vaults total. Cooper is hired by his wife's company because his wife either convinced their company president CEO, who's only revealed as this shadowy figure kind of pulling the strings in the background. He might be the actual main villain of the series ultimately. They don't reveal which actor is playing the character either. We probably won't learn till season 2 or season 3. If you believe his wife is truly evil, like she'll wind up turning into a bigger villain, then she's behind the idea to make Cooper the face of their company. So either way, they use Cooper because he's a super popular actor at the time, and people will believe whatever he says. He winds up doing a bunch of commercials for Vault-Tec to convince people that it's an interesting product that they should buy into. It'd be like Tom Hanks' wife working for Evil Corp USA, then hiring Tom Hanks to be the face of Evil Corp commercials, lying to the public, making their products seem good. They actually did a parody of this on The Simpsons movie where Tom Hanks is hired by the government to sell the public on the idea of the dome over Springfield.
Hello, I'm Tom Hanks. The U.S. government has lost its credibility, so it's borrowing some of mine. Now, I'm pleased to tell you all about the new Grand Canyon. Coming this weekend. It's east of Shelbyville and south of Capital City.
Here's where we get to capitalism kind of being the main villain. She and the others on the series show that Vault-Tec's ultimate loyalty was to their shareholders. We're talking about fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders. They're a public company with investors. Their main purpose was actually to create more value, making more money for those investors, not to actually protect the public from potential nuclear war. So this meant driving up their share price. In order to do that, they had to keep people buying their products. There are a number of other companies that they're involved with throughout the series, all based on products and things from the games like Nuka-Cola, so they're all tied up in this financial web, all trying to make more money for each other. And it was Cooper's wife who recites the plan to do that for the first time. Now, it's possible that the shadowy Vault-Tec president came up with the plan and she's just the proxy for him on the board of directors with the leaders from all the other companies here, and he's the person that wanted to do that. This web of other companies is also based on the Fallout games too. So Robco is the software company who developed the Pip-Boys, the terminals you see throughout the games in the show. They're also behind the Mr. Handy robots, voiced by Matt Berry, who was revealed as a real actor, a friend of Cooper's, who just sold his voice right like nothing during the series. Like you should have gotten way more money from them. Westech is primarily a military contractor that are mostly known for developing the power armor you see the Brotherhood of Steel wearing. They're also behind the super mutants in the games. They also used them to reveal that Cooper was a former military man that fought in the last big war before the Great War, and he wore the prototypes of the power armor that you see the Brotherhood of Steel wearing. They set up the idea that their company, pretty much all the companies in general, don't care about making actual good products. They just want to earn more money. So the power armor itself, everything else, like all the other technology, is riddled with bugs, including the vaults themselves. Big MT was also a defense contractor. They're mostly a research center trying to optimize economic models into a post-apocalyptic world after the bombs are dropped. They also developed the brain bots in the games, which we see during the final episode when we learn Bud Askins, former Vault-Tec employee, was turned into one in order to help him solve the problem of time. During the series, they set up this whole idea that he calls man's greatest enemy is time. Also, man's greatest weapon is time, which goes hand in hand with the cryo-freezing plan of the Vault-Tec employees, the upper management, and the truth behind the experiment they were running with Vault 31, 32, and 33. Basically, Bud trying to create the perfect management system by freezing and unfreezing Vault-Tec management so they could rule over this post-apocalyptic world inside the vaults. Repcon were an aerospace contractor that was later bought by Robco. They develop a lot of technology that you see incorporated into the vaults themselves. The Enclave is one of the other big factions during the games, but they're not involved with this conglomerate. During Season 1, Michael Emerson plays the Enclave scientist Wilzig, who develops or finishes developing cold fusion, then rebels against them to help Moldaver complete her cold fusion experiment. The Enclave are like a paramilitary remnant of the original US government before the Great War, trying to maintain superiority. They're super racist, they believe in social Darwinism, so they are super stabby to anybody who is not part of the Enclave. So part of the idea in this post-apocalyptic wasteland, all the different factions are vying for control themselves, even though Vault-Tec themselves are viewed as the actual main villain. They revealed that Vault-Tec had been losing money before the Great War, needed more funding from the other companies it was working with. In order to give them something of value in return for their extra investment, they brought them in on the plan to drop the first bombs and force everybody into their vaults, thereby driving up the value of vaults, earning everyone more money. They would also incorporate the technologies and products of all the other companies into the vaults, and they gave each of the different companies their own group of vaults to rule over in whatever way they saw fit, just run experiments on them, usually in dark and twisted ways. Treat people like rats in their great experiments, like guinea pigs, basically. And remember, there are 122 total vaults. We only saw vaults 31, 32, 33, and then the extra one, and then the one at the end of the series. So there are many, many other vaults out there for them to explore in future seasons. They reveal at the end of the series that Cooper's wife went along with Vault-Tec's evil plans in order to secure their family a place in what she called the quote-unquote special good vaults, like the vaults that were supposed to actually work. Meaning that Vault-Tec didn't really care if the vaults actually did work, they just wanted a product to sell. But because they knew that there was going to be an actual apocalypse, like they would actually have to go live in some of these vaults, they actually had to build a couple that were really good. Lucy winds up learning that her father Hank, played by Kyle MacLachlan, is a former Vault-Tec management person, cryogenically froze himself in Vault 31 with the rest of management, then unfroze himself to run Vault 33, where he married Lucy's mother, had Lucy, her brother Norm, and periodically Bud, now the brain bot, would just unfreeze former Vault to prolong her life over 200 years. Like, that's why she's still alive in present day too. It didn't seem like she was a ghoul or anything like that. Their new town in Shady Sands thrived in the wasteland, but then Lucy's father, Hank, found them, dropped another nuclear bomb on the town to prevent it from becoming a bigger thing, destroying it, turning Lucy's mother into a ghoul, who we meet in the final episode. And he'd just been lying to her this whole time while she was growing up, telling her mother had died. They also reveal Maximus from the Brotherhood of Steel lived in Shady Sands as a kid. His family was killed when Hank dropped that second bomb. This is where they turn her father, Hank, into one of the bigger main villains of the series. He probably won't be the ultimate main villain, but he's sort of like a reverse Darth Vader kind of twist where he goes super dark. Like, he went from being bad to being really bad at the end of the series. He escapes in a stolen power suit. Cooper, like I said, who's revealed as the ghoul, had asked him what happened to his family because Hank was his wife's former assistant at Vault-Tec. He would know where she wound up, making it sound like she and Cooper's daughter are still alive 200 years later as well, but also probably because they cryogenically froze themselves. They implied that Hank left to go to the secret Vault-Tec special vaults spoken of earlier in the episode, like he was on his way to the secret Vault-Tec headquarters in the post-apocalyptic wasteland. Maximus and Lucy kind of turn into a bigger thing, imply they'll find each other again eventually. Lucy leaves with Cooper to find Hank in the secret Vault-Tec company vaults. Maximus returns to the Brotherhood of Steel, who have now claimed Moldaver's activated cold fusion technology, which essentially gives the Brotherhood of Steel ultimate power. That's also assuming Vault-Tec themselves don't have some special weapons and tech they've been hoarding for themselves in their private vaults, which they obviously have. Like, there's no way they'd leave themselves indefensible. They wind up ending with Lucy and Cooper's story leaving to start their pursuit of Hank by walking underneath the Hollywood sign in California, which is ironic because not only is it sponsored, quote-unquote, by Nuka-Cola, a partner of Vault-Tec, reminding you that the apocalypse was sponsored by Vault-Tec. Dark twist, big call out on capitalism again. Very clear metaphors going on here. But also, Cooper used to be a famous actor in Hollywood. They referenced the films that he made several times throughout the series. Hank had been a fanboy of his, like, could I have your autograph, please? And the actual ending credits scene are of Hank ending his journey looking out over a walled-off city of New Vegas, revealing Season 2 will primarily draw from the plot of the Fallout New Vegas storyline. The skull here is also from a Deathclaw. Those are actually from Fallout 4, just letting you know that they're going to be picking things from all across the Fallout games. Deathclaws were also created by the Enclave before the Great War as a cheap replacement for troops, reminding you that the Enclave is still a big threat out here too. So if you remember, even though Vault-Tec, big villains in the series, all the different factions are vying for control. So they're trying to tease Season 2 by saying they'll answer some of the teasers from Season 1, like what were the other companies doing with the vaults that they controlled, because there's over 122 vaults. What happened to Cooper's wife and daughter, who was that shadowy president of Vault-Tec, seemingly pulling everyone's strings? But the actual main character of the Fallout New Vegas game was Mr. House, the founder of RobCo. So likely we'll see more of what was going on with RobCo and what they were doing with their vaults that they controlled in this post-apocalyptic wasteland. But early theory, in addition to answering a lot of these questions, Cooper probably won't actually get his family back yet. He'll just learn what happened to them during Season 2, and they'll face these RobCo employees. Hank will probably return to fight against them as a more overt villain from the start of the season, like now that we know that he's evil. And over the course of the next couple seasons, assuming the show does like 4 or 5 seasons, they'll just fight their way through all the different companies sitting around the table here, more Vault-Tec upper management, until they fight probably Cooper's wife, who they might turn into a bigger villain like Hank. His wife did start to seem very, very sinister during that last episode. And probably ultimately the Vault-Tec president in whatever the final season winds up being, if he does wind up being the actual final main villain. But all these end credit scenes playing out over the actual credits are just to remind you that Season 2 is mostly focused on the Fallout New Vegas storyline as a location, with some changes made based on the changes they already made in Season 1. But because there's so many Easter eggs and references, teasers for Season 2, future seasons, if there are any that you spotted that I didn't talk about in this video, just write them below in the comments. But like I said, the show itself isn't meant to be a direct copy-paste adaptation of the games, they're just borrowing things from the games with a lot of Easter eggs and references. What they'll probably do, though, is they'll wait a week or two before confirming that there is going to be a Season 2. But like I said, they ended things on a very clear teaser for Season 2, so there's probably no way that they aren't going to do that. Speaking of adaptations, X-Men 97, probably one of the best Marvel-related series that's been happening the last couple of years. My Episode 6 video will post this week after they release it. Click here for my trailer video for all the upcoming episodes, and click here for my brand new Deadpool and Wolverine trailer video from CinemaCon with a whole bunch of new footage and Easter eggs, and a lot of jokes about Kevin Feige and Disney. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.